Hello dear friends, today we are learning English through the life of Adolf Hitler. Lesson number 1. Adolf Hitler.
Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889 in Braunau am Inn, a town in Austria, close to the border with the German Empire. He was the fourth of 6 children born to Alois Hitler and his third wife, Clara. 3 of Hitler's siblings, Gustav, Ida, and Otto, died in infancy. Also living in the household were Alois's children from his second marriage, Alois Jr., born 1882, and Angela, born 1883. When Hitler was 3, the family moved to Passau, Germany. There he acquired the distinctive Lower Bavarian dialect, rather than Austrian German, which marked his speech throughout his life. The family returned to Austria and settled in Leonding in 1894, and in June 1895 Alois retired to Hafeld, near Lambach, where he farmed and kept bees. Hitler attended Volksschule, a state-funded primary school, in nearby Fischlham.
The move to Hafeld coincided with the onset of intense father-son conflicts caused by Hitler's refusal to conform to the strict discipline of his school. Alois tried to browbeat his son into obedience, while Adolf did his best to be the opposite of whatever his father wanted. Alois would also beat his son, although his mother tried to protect him from regular beatings. Alois Hitler's farming efforts at Hafeld ended in failure, and in 1897 the family moved to Lambach. The 8-year-old Hitler took singing lessons, sang in the church choir, and even considered becoming a priest. In 1898, the family returned permanently to Leonding. Hitler was deeply affected by the death of his younger brother Edmund in 1900 from measles. Hitler changed from a confident, outgoing, conscientious student to a morose, detached boy who constantly fought with his father and teachers. Paula Hitler recalled how Adolf was a teenage bully who would often slap her. Alois had made a successful career in the Customs Bureau and wanted his son to follow in his footsteps. Hitler later dramatized an episode from this period when his father took him to visit a customs office, depicting it as an event that gave rise to an unforgiving antagonism between father and son, who were both strong-willed. Ignoring his son's desire to attend a classical high school and become an artist, Alois sent Hitler to the Realschule in Linz in September 1900. Hitler rebelled against this decision, and in Mein Kampf states that he intentionally performed poorly in school, hoping that once his father saw what little progress I was making at the technical school he would let me devote myself to my dream. Like many Austrian Germans, Hitler began to develop German nationalist ideas from a young age. He expressed loyalty only to Germany, despising the declining Habsburg monarchy and its rule over an ethnically diverse empire. Hitler and his friends used the greeting Heil and sang the Deutschlandlied instead of the Austrian imperial anthem. After Alois's sudden death on January 3, 1903, Hitler's performance at school deteriorated and his mother allowed him to leave. He enrolled at the Realschule in Steyr in September 1904, where his behavior and performance improved. In 1905, after passing a repeat of the final exam, Hitler left the school without any ambitions for further education or clear plans for a career. In 1907, Hitler left Linz to live and study fine art in Vienna, financed by orphans' benefits and support from his mother. He applied for admission to the Academy of Fine Arts Vienna but was rejected twice. The director suggested Hitler should apply to the School of Architecture, but he lacked the necessary academic credentials because he had not finished secondary school. On December 21, 1907, His mother died of breast cancer at the age of 47. Hitler was 18 at the time. In 1909, Hitler ran out of money and was forced to live a bohemian life in homeless shelters and the Meldemanstrasse dormitory. He earned money as a casual laborer and by painting and selling watercolors of Vienna's sights. During his time in Vienna, he pursued a growing passion for architecture and music, attending 10 performances of Lohengrin, his favorite Wagner opera. In Vienna, Hitler was first exposed to racist rhetoric. Populists such as Mayor Karl Lueger exploited the city's prevalent anti-Semitic sentiment, occasionally also espousing German nationalist notions for political benefit. German nationalism was even more widespread in the Mariahilf district, where Hitler then lived. George Ritter von Schauner became a major influence on Hitler and he developed an admiration for Martin Luther. Hitler read local newspapers that promoted prejudice and utilized Christian fears of being swamped by an influx of Eastern European Jews as well as pamphlets that published the thoughts of philosophers and theoreticians such as Houston Stewart Chamberlain, Charles Darwin, Friedrich Nietzsche, Gustav Le Bon, and Arthur Schopenhauer. During his life in Vienna, Hitler also developed fervent anti-Slavic sentiments. The origin and development of Hitler's antisemitism remains a matter of debate. His friend August Kubizek claimed that Hitler was a confirmed anti-Semite before he left Linz. However, historian Bridget Hammond describes Kubizek's claim as problematical. While Hitler states in Mein Kampf that he first became an anti-Semite in Vienna, Reinhold Hanisch, who helped him sell his paintings, disagrees. Hitler had dealings with Jews while living in Vienna. Historian Richard J. Evans states that historians now generally agree that his notorious, murderous antisemitism emerged well after Germany's defeat, in World War I, as a product of the paranoid, stab-in-the-back explanation for the catastrophe. Hitler received the final part of his father's estate in May 1913 and moved to Munich, Germany. When he was conscripted into the Austro-Hungarian army, he journeyed to Salzburg on February 5, 1914 for medical assessment. After he was deemed unfit for service, he returned to Munich. Hitler later claimed that he did not wish to serve the Habsburg Empire because of the mixture of races in its army and his belief that the collapse of Austria-Hungary was imminent. In August 1914, at the outbreak of World War I, Hitler was living in Munich and voluntarily enlisted in the Bavarian army. According to a 1924 report by the Bavarian authorities, allowing Hitler to serve was most likely an administrative error, because as an Austrian citizen, he should have been returned to Austria. Posted to the Bavarian Reserve Infantry Regiment 16, 1st Company of the List Regiment, he served as a dispatch runner on the Western Front in France and Belgium, spending nearly half his time at the regimental headquarters in Forns-en-Weps, well behind the front lines. In 1914, he was present at the First Battle of Ypres and in that year was decorated for bravery, receiving the Iron Cross, 2nd class. During the war, he was saved by his commanding officer, Fritz Weidmann, who pulled Hitler out of the rubble of a collapsed building, while under heavy fire. During his service at headquarters, Hitler pursued his artwork, drawing cartoons and instructions for an army newspaper. During the Battle of the Somme in October 1916, he was wounded in the left thigh when a shell exploded in the dispatch runner's dugout. Hitler spent almost 2 months recovering in hospital at Belitz, returning to his regiment on March 5, 1917. He was present at the Battle of Arras of 1917 and the Battle of Passchendaele. He received the Black Wound Badge on May 18, 1918. 3 months later, in August 1918, on a recommendation by Lieutenant Hugo Gutmann, his Jewish superior, Hitler received the Iron Cross, First Class, a decoration rarely awarded at Hitler's Gefreiter rank. On October 15, 1918, he was temporarily blinded in a mustard gas attack and was hospitalized in Pasewalk. While there, Hitler learned of Germany's defeat, and, by his own account, suffered a second bout of blindness after receiving this news. Hitler described his role in World War I as the greatest of all experiences, and was praised by his commanding officers for his bravery. His wartime experience reinforced his German patriotism, and he was shocked by Germany's capitulation in November 1918. His displeasure with the collapse of the war effort began to shape his ideology. Like other German nationalists, he believed the Dolchstoßlegende, stab-in-the-back myth, which claimed that the German army, undefeated in the field, had been stabbed in the back on the home front by civilian leaders, Jews, Marxists, and those who signed the armistice that ended the fighting, later dubbed the November Criminals. The Treaty of Versailles stipulated that Germany had to relinquish several of its territories and demilitarized the Rhineland. The treaty imposed economic sanctions and levied heavy reparations on the country. Many Germans saw the treaty as an unjust humiliation. They especially objected to Article 231, which they interpreted as declaring Germany responsible for the war. The Versailles Treaty and the economic, social, and political conditions in Germany after the war were later exploited by Hitler for political gain. After World War I, Hitler returned to Munich. Without formal education or career prospects, he remained in the army. In July 1919, he was appointed Verbindungsmann, intelligence agent, of an Aufklärungskommando, reconnaissance unit, of the Reichswehr, assigned to influence other soldiers and to infiltrate the German Workers' Party, DAP. At a DAP meeting on September 12, 1919, party chairman Anton Drexler was impressed by Hitler's oratorical skills. He gave him a copy of his pamphlet My Political Awakening, which contained anti-Semitic, nationalist, anti-capitalist, and anti-Marxist ideas. On the orders of his army superiors, Hitler applied to join the party, and within a week was accepted as party member 555. The party began counting membership at 500 to give the impression they were a much larger party. Hitler made his earliest known written statement about the Jewish question in a September 16, 1919 letter to Adolf Gemlich, now known as the Gemlich Letter. In the letter, Hitler argues that the aim of the government must unshakably be the removal of the Jews altogether. At the DAP, Hitler met Dietrich Eckart, one of the party's founders and a member of the occult Thule Society. Eckart became Hitler's mentor, exchanging ideas with him and introducing him to a wide range of Munich society. To increase its appeal, the DAP changed its name to the Nationalsozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP, now known as the Nazi Party. Hitler designed the party's banner of a swastika in a white circle on a red background. Hitler was discharged from the army on March 31, 1920 and began working full-time for the party. The party headquarters was in Munich, a center for anti-government German nationalists determined to eliminate Marxism and undermine the Weimar Republic. In February 1921, already highly effective at crowd manipulation, he spoke to a crowd of over 6,000. To publicize the meeting, 2 truckloads of party supporters drove around Munich waving swastika flags and distributing leaflets. Hitler soon gained notoriety for his rowdy polemic speeches against the Treaty of Versailles, rival politicians, and especially against Marxists and Jews. In June 1921, while Hitler and Eckhart were on a fundraising trip to Berlin, a mutiny broke out within the Nazi Party in Munich. Members of its executive committee wanted to merge with the Nuremberg-based German Socialist Party, DSP. Hitler returned to Munich on July 11 and angrily tendered his resignation. The committee members realized that the resignation of their leading public figure and speaker would mean the end of the party. Hitler announced he would rejoin on the condition that he would replace Drexler as party chairman, and that the party headquarters would remain in Munich. The committee agreed, and he rejoined the party on July 26 as member 3680. Hitler continued to face some opposition within the Nazi Party. Opponents of Hitler in the leadership had Hermann Esser expelled from the party, and they printed 3,000 copies of a pamphlet attacking Hitler as a traitor to the party. In the following days, Hitler spoke to several large audiences and defended himself and Esser, to thunderous applause. His strategy proved successful, and at a special party congress on July 29, he was granted absolute power as party chairman, succeeding Drexler, by a vote of 533 to 1. Hitler's vitriolic beer hall speeches began attracting regular audiences. A demagogue, he became adept at using populist themes, including the use of scapegoats, who were blamed for his listeners' economic hardships. Hitler used personal magnetism and an understanding of crowd psychology to his advantage while engaged in public speaking. Historians have noted the hypnotic effect of his rhetoric on large audiences, and of his eyes in small groups. Alphonse Heck, a former member of the Hitler Youth, recalled, "We erupted into a frenzy of nationalistic pride that bordered on hysteria. For minutes on end, we shouted at the top of our lungs, with tears streaming down our faces, 'Sieg Heil, Sieg Heil, Sieg Heil.' From that moment on, I belonged to Adolf Hitler body and soul." Early followers included Rudolf Hess, former Air Force ace Hermann Göring, and Army Captain Ernst Röhm. Röhm became head of the Nazis' paramilitary organization, the Sturmabteilung, SA, stormtroopers, which protected meetings and attacked political opponents. A critical influence on Hitler's thinking during this period was the Aufbauvereinigung, a conspiratorial group of White Russian exiles and early Nazis. The group, financed with funds channeled from wealthy industrialists, introduced Hitler to the idea of a Jewish conspiracy, linking international finance with Bolshevism. The program of the Nazi Party was laid out in their 25-point program on February 24, 1920. This did not represent a coherent ideology, but was a conglomeration of received ideas which had currency in the folkish pan-Germanic movement, such as ultranationalism, opposition to the Treaty of Versailles, distrust of capitalism, as well as some socialist ideas. For Hitler, the most important aspect of it was its strong anti-Semitic stance. He also perceived the program as primarily a basis for propaganda and for attracting people to the party.